There's a recent YouTube video that's out that says never greet a group with good morning or good afternoon. So I will dispense with the pleasantries and get right into it. Today we are going to have a discussion on how to prioritize tasks. This is a challenge for many of us, primarily because in prioritization of tasks, we often think about what's important to us and not what's important to the individual or individuals that are giving us the tasks. And so it's very relevant that we have a discussion and seminar that helps us to be able to develop skills on improving our abilities to deliver in tasks that are assigned. I have this introduction here, which was nicely done by Emma a couple of weeks ago, that speaks to a smiley face and has a group of people or representation of a group of people doing something. This is kind of how tasks are done in our organization. Someone has a bright idea, they give you an assignment, and oftentimes you collaborate with each other before actually engaging and getting the task done. Now, there are three things that you ought to consider when dealing with tasks. And we'll get into that very briefly, but I just thought this was a very interesting cartoon character to demonstrate this is precisely how group activities occur. But it's also an example of how group activities can slow things down. Now, in the prioritization of tasks, and before I get into it, let me just share with you how we're going to have this program today. A part of it is going to be lecture. A part of it is going to be me stuck behind this desk, or a lectern, primarily because we're recording for training purposes. But a part of it is going to be interactive with you, coming up with ideas that are going to challenge you to accomplish tasks in a reasonable time. So you ought to identify tasks that should be completed. You ought to determine what is urgent versus what is important. And you ought to verify with supervisors or supervisor the deadline. Now, these three things are critical for you as professionals, whether you are at the head of the organization or you are at a different level of the organization. You ought to identify tasks that need to be completed on a daily basis. Why? Because every one of you has a job description that indicates what your overall goal is in the organization. However, coming from that job description, there are actually job tasks listed there. And from those tasks, you can develop your own tasks in the absence of specific instructions on what you ought to be doing on a daily basis. Determining what is urgent versus important. Oftentimes you're given something to do or you're asked to do something and you're not quite sure whether this is important or this is urgent, or I'll add a third component, whether it's significant. So for example, if you've been given a task to do some research, is there a deadline for that research? If the answer is yes, and the deadline is 3 months from now, then where do we categorize that as a priority? Is that urgent? Is that important? Or is that significant? Can anyone tell me what category they think that example fits in? Urgent, important, or significant? Okay, someone says important. Why not significant? We certainly know it's not urgent because you have 3 months to go or you have some time. It's important, yes, but isn't important like a high priority item? So significant in my mind is something that should be done, but it's not important, neither is it urgent. So you see the scale I'm giving to you to use in your own assessment of tasks. What's significant, what's important, what's urgent. Another example, there is a training seminar or webinar scheduled for tomorrow, and you've not gotten the refreshments done for it. Is that urgent? Is that important? Or is that significant? Urgent. Why is it urgent? Because it has a very close deadline. So we need to be able to use our own thinking ability to rationalize what's urgent, what's important, what's significant. Now, you have been given a task to arrange for the cleaning of the office. Is that urgent? Is that significant? Is that important? Important. Some say important. The cleaning of the office. Pardon? Okay, here's what's missing. You don't know. Do you know or you don't know? What's the deadline? Do you know what's the deadline? So if you don't know the deadline, what is your obligation and responsibility as a professional to do? You need to find out the deadline. So this is what prioritization is. Identify the task. So we've identified the task, cleaning the office. We've not really determined whether it's urgent, important, or significant, so we need to verify with the supervisor what is the deadline. The deadline dictates the urgency, the importance, or significance of the task. If there is no deadline, it leaves it open-ended. It becomes whenever I want to do it. And whenever I want to do it may not suit what the directive is or the intention is. This is why I mentioned the responsibility of tasks are on you. Not the person who's given you the instruction, on you. Yes, the person who's giving the instruction should know better. However, as a professional who understands tasks, you identify the task, you determine what is urgent versus important, and you verify the deadline. In terms of prioritization, this is a model that's actually used in the oil and gas industry by a particular oil company. Assess, analyze, and act. When it comes to prioritization of work to be done, you need to assess, you need to analyze, and you need to act. Now, the reason why it's important to assess is because you will be able to determine whether the task is urgent, important, or significant. Once you assess that, then you can analyze how I'm going to get the task done. The issue is not from the perspective of the person giving you the task or whether it's a task that you generate, how you get it done. That's for you to do. That's for you to use your skills as professionals to analyze. And then you act. It's not good enough to know that you have a task, to assess that you have a task, to analyze what you're going to do, and then what you do. Nothing. That makes you a very brilliant non-performer. That's not what we're about. You're about delivering results, and in order to deliver results, you have to do tasks. Now, you may think that this is a very simple approach to tasks and how to do it, but these basic fundamentals in how we do things are important for us to do so that we can improve our productivity and our ability to meet the challenge of what P&G CJE is all about, and basically what any organization should be about in delivering on its mandate. So the question I'm going to ask you, and so I mentioned that this is a participation-driven seminar, not just a lecture. What do you think this means? What is urgent? How about I ask Olivia, what do you think is urgent? How would you define what is urgent?
example, this one task is to be given at 10 o'clock, and there's another task to be given at 11 o'clock. You get the 10 o'clock one done.
Okay, so urgent as defined by Olivia is something or a task that needs to be done in the shortest period of time. That's urgent. So you're working on a newsletter that needs to come out sometime this week, maybe Friday. But you're given a task that has to go into the Chief Justice's chambers tomorrow. What then happens with the work I'm doing right now? Do I continue working on the project I'm working on that's due on Friday, or do I drop that and deal with what needs to go into the office tomorrow? You don't all have to speak at once. I can't hear you. So, drop what you're currently doing and deal with what's urgent. So that's a challenge for us as human beings, because we are pre-programmed to do what we think we're doing to get things done when we want to get it done, when the issue at hand is you've been given a task that has been deemed urgent based on the priority of time. So the relationship between urgency and time are really, it's an equation. The less time you require, the more urgent it is. The more time you require, the less urgent it is. I'll use another example. If somebody had a stroke or heart attack and they're in a village, do we rush them to get up to Palm General, or we wait around for about 4 or 5 days and just see how it goes and then we get around to it? What do you think? We rush them to Palm General versus I get a little cut on my finger. I'm in the village. Do I need to go to Palm General? Maybe that's urgent, huh? But I'm telling you, these simple examples demonstrate the challenge organizations have and that we have, that sometimes instead of taking the stroke or heart attack issue and dealing with it right away, we go and deal with the Band-Aid issue. Why? Because the Band-Aid issue is easy. Normally, the easier the task, the more priority we place on it, because I can do this. I can check this off. I've done it. That's a task I've completed. Yes, in the priority of things, you may have 20 or 30 things to do, but that's the least of your worries and the least important in terms of urgent. So it's important that you understand what is urgent. If you're not sure of what is urgent, then you ought to talk to the supervisor or the individual who has assigned you the task. That's how you determine what is urgent. What is important? Peter, what do you think important is? You're not going to sleep in here with your eyes wide open talking to me. I'm not the one.
Important is activity that we have to get it done, but we may have some time remaining.
Okay, so Peter has given us an equation of time, a function of time. If there is some time, it has to be done, but it's important. So I'll use a simple medical analogy again. That's probably an easy way because we can understand that. You have a headache and it's throbbing and it's been going on for about 2 days, but you're still up to it to come to work. But it's throbbing. I mean, you know that kind of headache. It's just beating. It's not going away. It's now 2 or 3 days. You're taking Tylenol, you're taking Panadol or paracetamol. It's not gotten any better. Do you go to the doctor, or do you come to work and go to the doctor at 4:06? Is it urgent or is it important? I hear Susie rumbling. Is it urgent or important?
It's important you go to the doctor.
Okay. All right, so it's important you go to the doctor. What made you determine that it's important you go to the doctor instead of coming to work with a headache, which most of us sometimes, we have this. we come to work with headaches. What caused you to determine that it should be important? I want you to think about that, because something caused you to say that's important, and I know what it is. I'm sure you haven't thought about it, that's why I'm asking you. What is it that caused you to say, this is important? Peter, what caused Barry to say it's important he goes to the doctor after 3 days of a headache instead of coming to work?
If he doesn't go to the doctor, then it might become severe.
No, you're telling me why. I asked what? Olivia?
This is important, and if he's in good health, then he will carry out his tasks productively.
That's still the why. I'll tell you what the what is to make it easier. It's not a test. The what comes back to time. Everything is connected to time. Urgent, time. If you had a stroke or a heart attack, urgent. I got to get there because I have a short time. Important because I'm now going on 3 days. This is important. Time. If it's significant, we can go on maybe 2-3 weeks. Time. So I'm trying to get you to understand there is a direct relationship between something that's urgent, important, significant with time. The shorter the time, the more urgent it is. The next step after that, the longer, it'll be important. If it's even much longer, then it becomes significant. But we have to understand that. That's a challenge because, and you see it for those of you who have children, for those of you who don't, you have relatives who are young kids. You see kids playing with toys. And you give them a batch of toys, little, toys to play with, and they're playing with it. And then all of a sudden, you give them a brand new red, shiny car, and they drop the toy and they go and pick up the red, shiny car. Why? Because in that child's mind, that red, shiny car is urgent to deal with. That's fun to play with now. That's urgent. Because it happened in such a short time. There is a relationship between time and urgency. And so we are pre-programmed as human beings to identify tasks that are urgent, important, and significant, whether we recognize it or not. But it's up to us to recognize in this professional environment, it's not what we want, it's what the direction is that we need to do to be able to achieve it. Now, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago something called attention to detail. Attention to detail. I need to get some involvement from you. So, Tongyo, what is attention to detail? There's no right or wrong answer.
Just making sure that whatever task that you are working on, it has to be done properly, without any room for mistakes.
That's a very good answer. I think it's a very tough answer, making sure you're getting things done without making mistakes. I think I'd like to get someone else's view. Stacy, what is attention to detail?
Details means making sure once you've completed your task, to go over it and recheck and look at what could have been allocated or what could have been worked out.
So, Tongia said the step that's after what Stacy's talking about. That's the overarching, beautiful statement. It's like finding salvation and having a relationship with Jesus. Sounds good. Very hard to do when you talk about living day to day and not cussing someone when they piss you off, right? But you're living for Jesus. So you gave me the living for Jesus answer. What Stacy did was break it down in simple steps. Getting the task done, but checking, because that's the right answer. Yes, you want to get it done perfectly, but most times we don't get it done perfectly. We get it done with a mistake, and we don't see it. A very good example. Anytime I do something that requires review, I always ask you to print it and bring it to me. Do you know why? Because I will miss it on the screen. I will miss a word because it's a natural thing. Your eyes play tricks with you. But when you put it on a piece of paper and you go finger, line by line, word by word, very difficult to miss. That's why I do it. And that's my recommendation to you when you do documents. Go through it finger word by word so you don't miss. Sometimes you'll miss that one preposition, to, or at, or in. You'll just miss it, and then you'll come up, oh, I missed it. And you've sent it on to a judge, or you've sent it on to the secretary. And who does it make look incompetent? The author. And so you want to ensure attention to detail. That's how you get attention to detail. A simple step like that. Very, very easy for us to ignore. So when you ensure work is done, accurately done, that's what you describe. The step there is very important. These questions here, and for those of you who are writing, I'm happy you're writing. I'm going to give you a copy of this presentation. I'm not saying stop writing. Writing is good because it causes your brain to recall. What will happen when you write? You'll start to think about it in different ways because I'm not teaching, I'm facilitating. You're learning based on what you want to learn from what you take from this seminar. But you have to ensure that you understand who the players are when it comes to the details. So you're given a task to develop a program for a particular target audience. Let's say you've been asked to develop a community awareness program for the village court magistrates. Is that an urgent task? Is that an important task? Is that a significant task? What do you think? Let's start with that collectively. I'll ask Debbie. You've been asked to develop a community awareness program for the village court magistrates. Is that urgent, important, or significant? You've not been given a deadline, so I'm starting with that. You know there's no deadline.
If I'm a program officer in charge of policy and trainings for which district, I would say that's important. But because I don't know the time yet, I would like to request significant.
All right, I'll ask Arabella because she is the program officer for village court magistrate. Do you agree with Debbie that that's an important task?
It is an important task, but
Oh, no, let me just stop you. Okay, Caribbean, is that an important task?
Yes.
Corey, is that an important task? You said what?
No.
Okay, Tonga, is that an important task?
Yes.
Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people, 20% got it right. 80% got it wrong. Imagine Corey got it right. It's not an important task. Why? We just talked about important. It's related to time. You have no deadline. So it's a significant task, but not important. So it's very, very critical that you grasp what I'm talking about, because if not, what will happen? We'll leave this room and we'll go back to doing what we do. As far as you're concerned, that's an important task. As far as we're concerned, based on what we've just discussed with time, it's not. It's a significant task. So take out your mind what you think of important. When you think of important, you think of priority. Yes, it's important in our natural understanding, but within the context of task prioritization, it's significant. That means you have time. Now, if you have a webinar or seminar that needs to be done on Friday or next week Tuesday, that's important because you don't have much time. If you have something in my mind, and this is something that you can do based on your professionalism, in my mind, if it's 3 days or less, it's urgent, because what could go wrong probably will. Actually, in PNG, you probably say 1 week. If it's 1 week in, it's urgent because you know it's going to happen. The requisition goes up, questions come back, it doesn't get paid, and then the seminar is there and you don't get stuff done. So you have to look at these kinds of things in making that determination. However, if it is that you do not have other tasks assigned, so using the village court training opportunity, if I have nothing else happening, then what happens? That significant thing then can come up to being important for me because I have nothing else to do. And it becomes important, and I deal with it. Even though the time factor is not there, it's a matter of getting the task from my desk off my desk. That's really what you want to do. Get these things out of your way and move on. Do you ever go into people's offices or cubicles and you see piles of stuff everywhere? And you say to yourself, you must be very busy. But when you look at their task output, what do you know? This person is always walking around, hey, how are you doing? How was yesterday? How was the weekend? Everything's good. Then they can't be busy. It means they just have a junk of stuff on their cubicle desk, pretending to do stuff when they're not prioritizing what should be done. And then 1 or 2 times you'll hear me come out, maybe, and shout and make some noise, and then everyone's, what is wrong with him? That's because tasks are not being done. In fact, this was the genesis of why I decided we needed to do this, because we need to understand the importance of it. It's not just for me. It's for program officers too, because there are people in here that the program officers rely on you to make their tasks get accomplished. And if we don't understand the urgency, the importance, or significance, then what will happen? It won't get done. And when I first came into PNG-CJE, I remember every workshop, this was told to me, every workshop, day or 2 before, everybody comes around and they're working on printing and publishing and getting everything together, working into long hours in the night, getting sleepless nights to get the project done. And the question I would ask myself, did they just find out they're having a workshop tomorrow? Or did they know about this a while ago? And for some reason, nobody would change. They would say, no, this is the way it is. It's always like this. This is how it has to be. And this would not just be in here. This would be the organization of NJS. Oh, no, this is how it, last minute, we have to make decisions last minute, and we have to react. And I could not understand this, that if you know that the wall is coming up, and I'm driving at 60 kilometers an hour, I know that wall is coming up. Am I going to wait until I reach about 2 seconds from the wall to slam brakes, or I see the wall up there, I'm going to press brakes right now? So we were operating like the wall is coming up and we didn't know it's there and we're going at 60 kilometers an hour. And when we reach, then we press the brakes. Okay, task done now. You may be lucky. You may not hit the wall this time, but guarantee at some point you will hit the wall. And that's what happens when you don't get tasks done in the right manner, is you always have that risk of running into the wall, and you don't have to do this. That is why some people do tasks and they relax, and you wonder, why is this person always smiling at work, seems to be doing nothing? That's because they already prioritized what's urgent, what's important, what's significant. They have it on their MS Outlook. We can tell you, okay, I have this to do on Monday, this to do on Wednesday, this to do on Friday. I don't have to do anything else except these 3 things, and that's it. Because they've taken the initiative to prioritize based on those definitions I mentioned. In addition, they've checked with the person who's assigned the task. So it's not for you to determine what is important, what is urgent, what is significant. That's based on time, and it's based on your discussion with the person assigning the task. Always ask them. Why? No one can hold you accountable for something they didn't tell you the expectations were. So when someone says, do this, they don't tell you when, and then they get upset and come to you, well, you didn't tell me when. I decided it'll be tomorrow. But you needed it today. You didn't tell me. Do you understand what I mean? That's important. Even for Corey, when he's doing runs. Some of you may have an urgent matter. You've got to go there. You've got to get to the Otis at 1 p.m. And he goes out and does 4 or 5 other errands, and he gets back here 3:30. And you still need the thing to be done, but you've missed your deadline, and you're getting upset. Did you tell him? Did you have a discussion with the supervisor who assigned you the task? But you're getting angry at him. I don't know where this guy is, always riding around. He's never here. Well, have you had a discussion on that task? That's an example. It means you have to communicate, have that attention to detail, but you have to know the importance, urgency, and significance. Now, we're going to have a fun activity very shortly. I'm going to point it to you. You're not going to go read it yet. There's one group of tasks over there, and this side of the room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, actually, 5 of you will be in this group, and then the rest of you will be in that group, and there's some tasks in the back there. Susie, where did you put it? Yeah, you won't look at it now. And your challenge will be to go and get all those tasks done within 10 minutes. And it's a lot of tasks. And the group that gets the most tasks done within the 10 minutes and checks it off will win. The prize shall be determined afterwards. You're not going on there yet. I'm just telling you what you have to look forward to as activities, because this is meant to be a practical exercise, not just a theoretical discussion about what tasks are. Most of you already know what tasks are, and you know how I know this? You have to pay bills, don't you? If you don't pay the phone for the SIM card or whatever, the minutes top up, you won't be using the phone. School fees. So we have an idea generally on tasks, on what is urgent and what's important. And you know the irony? We all know in our personal lives, it's based on time. It's the same thing. But in the workplace, somehow our common sense goes out the window and we think it's a different experience here. But it's the same thing, the time. And so this group activity, I said 3 groups. I'll stick with 2 because the room is small. This is intended to be a time prioritization activity that helps you to identify what you believe. So I'm not telling you what is the right thing to do, which one you should do. Some of them, quite frankly, I don't think you can do. But it's for you to determine, and I would dare say, in doing the tasks, I also want you to itemize what you think is urgent, what you think is a priority in terms of significant, what you think is important. I only want one person from each group to present at the end of the 10 minutes on what you came up with. But some of the activities you may be able to do, some of it you won't. And so this group, you can move over here and you can commence. We're going to take a 10-minute recess for you to do that. This group, it'll be more of you. You can go in the back and work on it. You have 10 minutes. How did you find that entire exercise? Easy, right? But see, that's a prime example of what prioritization of tasks are. It's, in terms of tasks, they're easy, but in terms of making a determination on what is priority, you have to think about it sometimes. Sometimes it's very easy to pick up. I'll just say that I'll give you my observation after, but who's from this group? Who's the speaker? Debbie? Okay, who's the speaker from this group? Okay, Debbie, you come first, and that's interesting. The publications team is speaking for the entire group.
So for our group, we decided to start off with the items that had the bigger number of points. So I'll just go with the. Okay, we were out of the list that was provided. We managed to find out something unique about each other, and that was 5 points. Okay, so for example, Peter said that he slept next to a pig one time during a customary ceremony, I think. Tongia said that he sleeps late but wakes up very early in the morning. Harry doesn't smoke and drink. John doesn't chew betel nut. And Corey has 35 pets, and 3 out of the 4 members of what must be knows him. So this is something unique about the team. We sang a song together, the alphabet, so that was 15 points. We made a paper plane and threw it from one end of the room to the other. That was 10 points. We got everyone in the room. Sorry, that one we did not. We counted the number of pets owned by each of us. That was 20 points. So a total of number of pets was 45. What else? We convinced a member of the other team to join us. That was Corey. Another 20 points. And Carey recreated the sounds of the Amazon rainforest, another 10 points. And we made a list of what our team members wanted out of the workshop, so that was 15 points. So 20, 30, 50, 70, 95, 105 points.
All right, hi everyone. Okay, the first task that we did was coming up with a team name and a slogan. So our team is called Agency, and our slogan is Do It Now. That's for 5 points. The second task is to make a paper plane and throw it from one end of the room to another. That's a paper plane. Olivia did it. I'm gonna throw it. Sorry, John. The third task is, so that's for 10 points. The third task is to count the number of pets owned by our group. And the total pets that we own as a group is 17. The fourth task is, that's for 20 points. The fourth task is to make a list of what our team wants out of the workshop. And the list is somewhere there, sorry. Forgot to bring it. Yes, these are some of the things that we want, our members want from the workshop, from the seminar. And the first one is to prioritize time, prioritize our tasks, to become more efficient in prioritizing our tasks and workload, to improve on our productivity, to improve on our prioritizing of our work, and to differentiate between urgent, important, and significant. Our next task is to create something for the instructor to wear, such as a hat or a tie, and we came up with a paper hat. I'd like to present it to Mr. Carey. If you wear it, you're gonna get another 5 points. So. Thank you. And what else? And we made a tower out of the materials we owned by piling up some papers and stuff at the back, but we removed them already. Okay, and the last one is nicknames. Yes, we came up. Our team members, gave our nicknames, and I'm gonna call out the nicknames. Olivia's nickname is Ollie. Stacy is Stay. Stella is Staxi. Susie is Sue. Arabella is Bella. Carey for Caribbean. Barry has somewhat a very unique nickname. His nickname is Baza, and my nickname is Uncle Shaq. And yes, we got to get everyone in the room to sign on a piece of paper. And the last task is to sing a song, and we are gonna sing it to you now. So Barry, can you lead? Thank you.
Who let the dogs out?
Thank you.
We need a total so we can determine who won.
Sorry, correction. Our total is 9
Okay. While Gideon is putting that number together, that's a very interesting exchange. What I found interesting about it is you determined what you thought was urgent, what you thought was important, what you thought was significant, informally without actually stating it. What I also noticed is that none of the groups mentioned what they wanted to get out of the workshops. Out of the workshop, as in terms of the details of it. So, in my mind, I can only speak for me, because time is what I always look at when it comes to prioritization of tasks. That would have been probably the most urgent of tasks on that list, because the seminar is going to finish in less than 25 minutes. So you have a time span to what is it I want to get out of the workshop. Did anybody find anything else in there that was urgent? I mean, there were fun tasks, but did you find anything in there that you thought was urgent? Another urgent one was with whatever this group is called. Did they give, you guys never gave yourselves a name, so you missed points. They picked up points there. Is they stole one of your members. That's urgent, because after the seminar, it really means nothing. And they picked up 20 points just by getting him to come over there, whether accidentally or inadvertently. I almost thought they were getting Arabella too, because I saw over there. But that's another task that I think you could have looked at as urgent. What I'm asking you to do when you assess tasks is not hard, it just requires you think about it some more. So like what we're doing here is we're actually assessing, we're analyzing, and then we're acting. Now, if I were doing this, I would probably assess it like most of you did. I'm looking at points. So you go straight for what's going to give me the most points, and you get those things out the way, and then everything else falls into place, which is a reasonable approach. But in terms of urgent, significant, important, for this activity, that's the urgent thing. Which one of these tasks are going to give me the most points? Did you calculate how much points you got? 105. 105. Okay, so this group is the winner. Let's give them a round of applause. As the group leader, you can come and collect. I'm giving you 300 kina worth of minutes on Judicial to split amongst all of you. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 divided by 3. Each of you get 27 kina or 30 kina. It's not a lot, but it's something. One of you put it on one of your phones and then you transfer the credits. That's the easiest way to do it. This is what seminars should be about. We're learning tasks or relearning, because we know these things. This isn't rocket science, but we're relearning and refocusing while at the same time enjoying ourselves. We're not stressed. We still have work to do when we get back over there. That's stress. This is a break that we can do. The outcome, I think this is the key thing. When you're doing tasks, there has to be an outcome. And the outcome is based on the employee plus the supervisor to result in the completed task accurately. Because I'll give you an example, if I do a task that's assigned to me by the board, without getting a clear understanding of what is it they want. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I was asked to put together a report on PNG CJE in terms of training, a training report. And I was given a deadline. I was given a task on a Monday, and I was given a deadline by a Thursday. So I knew right away, this is urgent. Whatever I was doing, I have to drop it, because this is urgent. This was directed by the chairman of the board. And so I quickly dropped everything else I was doing, dealt with it. So this is a Monday. By Tuesday morning, so what I did was I received the email from him around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I then started to work on the activities required to get this task completed. In the night at home, I did it, drafted the first executive summary, and then got the assistance from staff members to put together the report. But I told him in my response, so Monday, 4 o'clock, he emailed me, By 5:30 when I was at home, I emailed him back to advise that I'm in receipt of your email and that I will have a draft for your review by tomorrow close of business. So within a less than a 24-hour turnaround, I'm telling the chairman I'm going to have what he's asked me for on Thursday, on Tuesday. Why? I want to give him sufficient time to review it in case there are things in there he's not happy with and he says, no, we need to make changes here, make some changes. Then I can do that with sufficient time for his Thursday meeting with his colleagues. So I completed the task by noon on Tuesday. So Monday at 4, by noon on Tuesday, I sent him a hard copy and an electronic copy, hard copy of the document through the assistance of some of the staff in our division. And why did I do that? One, I wanted to ensure that we completely dealt with the task at hand. It was done accurately. I never got any feedback saying it was not done accurately. And two, as a professional, when I practice law, and this is one of the things that we always try to do, if I'm giving a quote to a client, let's say they ask me to form a company, I'm using this analogy for you. They tell me, we want to form a company that's going to do some major mining somewhere in Africa. I will say, okay, that will cost you about 100,000 kina, but I will have that done within 3 hours. Now, I know in reality it may only cost me 10,000 kina, but that's what I'm charging my client because that's the going rate. And I know it'll only take me about 25 minutes of my real time, but I'm saying it's going to take 3 hours just to make sure if there's any mistakes, I can review it, the Articles of Association, the Memorandum of Association for the appointment of the directors of the company, so I can file the documents with the registry, which is the company registry, to make sure everything is in order. And thereafter, share issuance certificates, etc. And I give myself sufficient time for that transactional legal work. So I finish it in 30 minutes. So I have 2.5 hours to review, make sure everything is correct, and then I press send to the client. Client has paid me, everybody's happy, win-win, and file the documents. Why did I do that? Because I believe in under-promising and over-delivering. So in other words, I'm told to do a task by a particular timeline. I don't go and tell the person giving me the task, I'm going to have it done that same day when I know I can't, because I would have overpromised and underdelivered and developed a reputation as a poor performer and someone that's unreliable. That's what happens when you don't do tasks in a timely manner, whether it be urgent, important, or significant. So this is why I suggest you underpromise and overdeliver. So when I wrote the chair, his timeline was Thursday. I over-delivered by giving it to him on Tuesday. So he can be reasonably satisfied that when he assigns tasks, he doesn't have to chase me and ask me about it because it's been dealt with way ahead of time, gives him sufficient time to the point that he may be confused. Why did John send it so early? Man, I wasn't expecting this until Thursday. Versus Thursday, he's going to his meeting and his staff are calling me saying, where's that report? The chair needs that report. And I'm saying, I just need another couple more days. That would be terrible because I would have not completed the task accurately. I would have fallen down on my aspect. This is the equation, employee plus supervisor. It's not just you. So when you have tasks, you can't feel stressed, oh, it's just me. We work together, meaning you and whoever gave you that task are joined at the hip. Because if you don't move, that person can't move either. But you all have to be on the same accord as far as what is required, what's the timeline to get things done. This is a concept that I want to share with you as we come to the close of our seminar, Agents of Leadership and Change. And this is something that many of you grapple with because you deal with it in your personal lives as leaders, as change makers. If you have young relatives, you're leading them. If you have young relatives, you're trying to transform their lives to help them to be better so they can achieve some of your success or even do better than you. So people who are agents of change and leadership, they adapt. So you get an assignment, you have things to do. You got kids you got to pick up from school, or you have some relative flying in from the village that needs a medical attention, and you have to deal with that. But you also have work to be done that's urgent, you have work to be done that's important, you have work to be done that's significant, but you have to adapt. So relative at the airport coming in from the Highlands at 3 o'clock, I have to deliver a report at 4 o'clock. You have to find a way to make sure that relative is taken care of and get your report done. You don't just say, the hell with this report, relative, come first. You find a way to organize it. So I'll give you an example, a real life example. We have an employee who's going on with a personal challenge with a relative who's in a significant bad shape medically. And so that person has taken time off to tend to that relative, but they've communicated to some of you, I assume, they certainly communicated to me, but they've communicated to some of you to cover their work while they're away. So what happens? The tasks that are assigned to that person gets covered, so the person doesn't leave it, and it falls apart while they deal with their personal issues. We have to be able to adapt, because life is not constant, it's dynamic. Nothing is the same. Today I wake up fine, tomorrow I may have a stroke and die, or have a stroke and worse, live. Can't talk or move a left side of my body. That's a worse situation, I think, than to die. Because now you're costing your family money to take care of you. So we have to adapt. That's my point. No matter what the circumstances are, we have to produce the desired results, because that's what you're tasked with, results. Even in your personal lives, you want results, whether it's with your bank, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your kids, whether it's with your relatives. You want results. You call someone up and say, send me some kulao. You want the kulao, right? And you don't want it at 2 kina, you want it at 50 toya. Not the price you buy in the market. You want results. You need to be efficient and effective. So you can be very efficient, but terribly ineffective. Does that sound confusing? To be efficient. Efficient means to get something done in a timely manner. Effective means that it's not done to the standard that is required of you. So, for example, you're asked to make copies of 500 things, and you make copies of 450 things. That's efficient, and you get it done quick. But we have 500 attendees to the webinar or seminar where we need to send this thing out to. Not effective. We've missed 50 people. That's the attention to detail. So agents of leadership and change adapt, they produce desired results, they are efficient and effective, and you consider the end result. That's always important. What is the goal? What am I trying to accomplish as a task in getting things done? You don't have to sit there and question why. You know, there are many things that people question why, and you're wasting time doing that. Like, why does someone study about the green frog? Have you all seen the green frog that not the green frog, there's a brown frog they've just found in Papua New Guinea. It's listed as the newest frog in the amphibian world. It was found about 5 years ago by some Australians who were researching, but they've just gotten past the peer review and acceptance into the world of plants and animals in the study of that world and realm to accept it as a part of a new species in Papua New Guinea. Now you can sit and say, why would anyone waste time trying to find there's a new frog, a new species of a frog in Papua New Guinea, somewhere in the jungle, when we have people starving to death? That's not the issue here. The issue is everybody has a task assigned, a simple term that you understand, stay in your lane. You don't worry about what's not in your purview, you stay in your lane and do what you should. Because like me, some of you would say, that's so stupid. They're spending time trying to find new frogs in Papua New Guinea, and we have other real issues. I'm staying in my lane. That's not my business, that's not my area. Same thing with you in terms of your tasks. Focus on your tasks. Identify those tasks. Ensure you get the contribution from the supervisors as far as timeline. Determine the urgency, importance, significance. Consider the end result. Prioritization allows for professionals, and that's what you are. You are professionals, to address the tasks that are most relevant at the appropriate time to produce the desired results as expected by the stakeholder. I think I made that one up with just pulling words together. But that's really what prioritization is. That's what the tasks, that's really what the conclusion of the matter is that you need to be able to address what those tasks are, identify what is most relevant to be done based on time, and produce the desired results for whom you have been given the task. And it's the same way when you're assigning tasks, because it's not a one-way street. Some of you are assigning tasks to people every day and don't even realize you're actually making a demand on someone's time. That's really what a task is.